All right. Hey, before we continue chapter 5, I just wanted to pause and kind of do a little exploration here. So I was wondering about an imperial affliction. We all know that's the book that Hazel loves, and this is the book that the author kind of just ended, and the character never really, we had no answer what happened, and we just stopped where Hazel and Augustus are kind of talking about the author, and then we find out that, oh my gosh, Augustus actually contacted the author and got an email back from him, and Hazel's like, are you crazy? Like, I've never been able to contact him before, so that's awesome. And it made me think, is an imperial affliction a real book? So I put it into Google, and here comes some images. So, that makes me think it's real. Obviously, if I can look at the book cover, there's the book cover. It's right there. That must be real. And I started thinking, but this is a fiction book. How could there be something real in it? Well, fiction books have real things all the time. And then I saw this website that's, is Peter Van Houten's Imperial Affliction a real book? And I kind of read this article. And, basically the truth is that it is not. He made it up. He absolutely created an imperial affliction. It is not a real book. You cannot go to a bookstore and buy it. The answer is no, an imperial affliction is not a real book. It does not exist in the real world, but it does exist in the book Fault in Our Stars. So then I started wondering, what does an imperial affliction even mean? So I went to my Longman English dictionary, which I really, really love, and I looked up the word imperial. And you might have thinking imperial like an empire. Imperial just means relating to the person who rules it. For example, Britain's imperial expansion in the 19th century. So imperial just means you own it. It is yours. You rule it. It is your kind of thing. So, okay, then I typed in affliction, and I got that it is something that causes pain or suffering, especially a medical condition. So I think imperial, someone who owns it and rules it, affliction, pain. So to me, imperial affliction kind of means the pain that you own, the pain that you rule. This is like your thing. It's your situation, and it's yours. It's imperial. I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting. Maybe you could think about that, what that has to do with Hazel, what that has to do with what she's going through in her life. Maybe it supports, a little bit why she likes the book to begin with. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start the recording. So we're back where we were before, at the top of page 68.
My response is being written with ink and paper in the glorious tradition of our ancestors, and then transcribed by Ms. Vliegenthaert into a series of ones and zeros to travel through the insipid web, which has lately ensnared our species, so I apologize for any errors or omissions that may result. Given the entertainment bacchanalia at the disposal of young men and women of your generation, I am grateful to anyone, anywhere, who sets aside the hours necessary to read my little book. But I am particularly indebted to you, sir, both for your kind words about an imperial affliction and for taking the time to tell me that the book, and here I quote you directly, meant a great deal to you. This comment, however, leads me to wonder, what do you mean by meant? Given the final futility of our struggle, is the fleeting jolt of meaning that art gives us valuable? Or is the only value in passing the time as comfortably as possible? What should a story seek to emulate, Augustus? A ringing alarm? A call to arms? A morphine drip? Of course, like all interrogation of the universe, this line of inquiry inevitably reduces us to asking what it means to be human and whether, to borrow a phrase from the angst-encumbered 16-year-olds you no doubt revile, there is a point to it all. I fear there is not, my friend, and that you would receive scant encouragement from further encounters with my writing. But to answer your question, no, I have not written anything else, nor will I. I do not feel that continuing to share my thoughts with readers would benefit either them or me. Thank you again for your generous email.
please pause the recording and answer the next question. Question 3.
Yours most sincerely, Peter Van Houten, via Lidewij Vliegentart. Wow, I said. Are you making this up? Hazel Grace, could I, with my meager intellectual capacities, make up a letter from Peter Van Houten featuring phrases like, our triumphantly digitized contemporaneity? You could not, I allowed. Can I have the email address? Of course, Augustus said, like it was not the best gift ever. I spent the next 2 hours writing an email to Peter Van Houten. It seemed to get worse each time I rewrote it, but I couldn't stop myself. Dear Mr. Peter Van Houten, care of Lidewij Vliegentart. My name is Hazel Grace Lancaster. My friend Augustus Waters, who read An Imperial Affliction at my recommendation, just received an email from you at this address. I hope you will not mind that Augustus shared that email with me. Mr. Van Houten, I understand from your email to Augustus that you are not planning to publish any more books. In a way, I am disappointed, but I'm also relieved. I never have to worry whether your next book will live up to the magnificent perfection of the original. As a 3-year survivor of stage 4 cancer, I can tell you that you got everything right in An Imperial Affliction. Or at least you got me right. Your book has a way of telling me what I'm feeling before I even feel it, and I've reread it dozens of times. I wonder, though, if you would mind answering a couple questions I have about what happens after the end of the novel. I understand the book ends because Anna dies or becomes too ill to continue writing it, but I would really like to know what happens to Anna's mom. Whether she married the Dutch tulip man, whether she ever has another child, and whether she stays at 917 West Temple, etc. Also, is the Dutch tulip man a fraud, or does he really love them? What happens to Anna's friends, particularly Claire and Jake? Do they stay together? And lastly, I realize that this is the kind of deep and thoughtful question you always hoped your readers would ask. What becomes of Sisyphus the hamster? These questions have haunted me for years, and I don't know how long I have left to get answers to them. I know these are not important literary questions, and that your book is full of important literary questions, but I would just really like to know. And of course, if you ever do decide to write anything else, even if you don't want to publish it, I'd love to read it. Frankly, I'd read your grocery lists. Yours with great admiration, Hazel Grace Lancaster, age 16. After I sent it, I called Augustus back, and we stayed up late talking about An Imperial Affliction, and I read him the Emily Dickinson poem that Van Houten had used for the title, and he said I had a good voice for reading and didn't pause too long for the line breaks, and then he told me that the 6th Price of Dawn book, The Blood Approves, begins with a quote from a poem. It took him a minute to find the book, but finally he read the quote to me. Say your life broke down. The last good kiss you had was years ago. Not bad, I said. Bit pretentious. I believe Max Mayhem would refer to that as sissy shit. Yes, with his teeth gritted, no doubt. God, Mayhem grits his teeth a lot in these books. He's definitely going to get TMJ, if he survives all this combat. And then, after a second, Gus asked, when was the last good kiss you had? I thought about it. My kissing, all pre-diagnosis, had been uncomfortable and slobbery, and on some level it always felt like kids playing at being grown, but of course it had been a while. Years ago, I said finally. You? I had a few good kisses with my ex-girlfriend, Caroline Mathers. Years ago? The last one was just less than a year ago. What happened? During the kiss? No, with you and Caroline. Oh, he said, and then after a second, Caroline is no longer suffering from personhood. Oh, I said. Yeah, he said. I'm sorry, I said. I'd known plenty of dead people, of course, but I'd never dated one. I couldn't even imagine it, really. Not your fault, Hazel Grace. We're all just side effects, right? Barnacles on the container ship of consciousness, I said, quoting AIA. Okay, he said. I gotta go to sleep. It's almost 1. Okay, I said. Okay, he said. I giggled and said, okay. And then the line was quiet but not dead. I almost felt like he was there in my room with me, but in a way it was better. Like I was not in my room and he was not in his, but instead we were together in some invisible and tenuous third space that could only be visited on the phone. Okay, he said after forever. Maybe okay will be our always. Okay, I said. It was Augustus who finally hung up.
Please pause and answer question number 4.
Peter Van Houten replied to Augustus's email 4 hours after he sent it. But 2 days later, Van Houten still hadn't replied to me. Augustus assured me it was because my email was better and required a more thoughtful response, that Van Houten was busy writing answers to my questions, and that brilliant prose took time. But still I worried. On Wednesday during American Poetry for Dummies 101, I got a text from Augustus. Isaac out of surgery. It went well. He's officially NEC. NEC meant no evidence of cancer. A second text came a few seconds later. He's blind, so that's unfortunate. That afternoon, Mom consented to loan me the car so I could drive down to Memorial to check in on Isaac. I found my way to his room on the 5th floor, knocking even though the door was open, and a woman's voice said, "Come in." It was a nurse who was doing something to the bandages on Isaac's eyes. "Hey, Isaac," I said. And he said, "Mon?" "Oh, no, sorry. No, it's, Hazel. Support group Hazel? Night of the Broken Trophies, Hazel?" "Oh," he said. "Yeah, people keep saying my other senses will improve to compensate, but clearly not yet. Hi, support group Hazel. Come over here so I can examine your face with my hands and see deeper into your soul than a sighted person ever could." "He's kidding," the nurse said. "Yes," I said. "I realize." I took a few steps toward the bed. I pulled a chair up and sat down, took his hand. "Hey," I said. "Hey," he said back. Then nothing for a while. "How you feeling?" I asked. "Okay," he said. "I don't know." "You don't know what?" I asked. I looked at his hand because I didn't want to look at his face blindfolded by bandages. Isaac bit his nails, and I could see some blood on the corners of a couple of his cuticles. "She hasn't even visited," he said. We were together 14 months. 14 months is a long time. God, that hurts. Isaac let go of my hand to fumble for his pain pump, which you hit to give yourself a wave of narcotics. The nurse, having finished the bandage change, stepped back. "It's only been a day, Isaac," she said, vaguely condescending. "You've got to give yourself time to heal, and 14 months isn't that long, not in the scheme of things. You're just getting started, buddy. You'll see." The nurse left. "Is she gone?" I nodded, then realized he couldn't see me nod. "Yeah," I said. "I'll see." "Really? Did she seriously say that?" "Qualities of a good nurse. Go," I said. "Number 1, doesn't pun on your disability," Isaac said. 2, gets blood on the first try, I said. "Seriously, that is huge. Is this my freaking arm or a dartboard?" 3, no condescending voice. "How are you doing, sweetie?" I asked, cloying. "I'm going to stick you with a needle now. There might be a little ouchie." "Is my whittle fuffy wump sicky wicky?" he answered. And then after a second, "Most of them are good, actually. I just want the hell out of this place."
Please pause and answer question number 5.
"This place is in the hospital?" "That too," he said. His mouth tightened. I could see the pain. "Honestly, I think a hell of a lot more about Monica than my eye." "Is that crazy?" "That's crazy." "It's a little crazy," I allowed. "But I believe in true love, you know. I don't believe that everybody gets to keep their eyes or not get sick or whatever, but everybody should have true love, and it should last at least as long as your life does." "Yeah," I said.
Okay, this is the end of the video. Open the next one, please.